My contention here for a lot of marketers is that the universe of attribution, which is different than measurement, we're going to talk about those, is over. And there are a variety of reasons that this has come to an end. So I'm going to set some context, and then I'm going to explain where I think the smartest marketers are putting their energy and effort in order to overcome this big challenge. So one of the problems, for sure, is that, and I am as guilty of this as anyone, especially as somebody who did lots of education in the marketing field for the last couple of decades, is that we spent all this time convincing executives that they should invest in digital channels precisely because they were not only measurable, but attributable. And our big weapon in that fight was that, unlike putting dollars against radio or television or billboard advertising or local campaigns or mailers, is that we could precisely tell you how many of your dollars were going to any channel and how much return on investment you were getting from each of those channels by building these moderately sophisticated attribution models. And that came from basically this idea that everything in digital was measurable, that, when you looked at your marketing dashboard, you could see not just how much you spent on an ad channel, but you could see the number of people who came from that channel, what they visited on your site before converting to a sale or signing up for an email list. And that buyer journey was completely trackable. And then it all went sideways. Then that era ended. And I'm going to go through what sort of the core causes of this, but really it's the combination of all of these things that have ended it together. And they've come to a head in just the last couple years. And especially this year, we'll talk about the death of third-party cookies. So third-party cookies ending in 2024. This is coming quite soon. You probably read about the cookie apocalypse for a while now, so I won't belabor the point. But Chrome, which has the dominant market share worldwide and certainly in the West, is the primary one that's going to be phasing them out after, I think it's September of this year, somewhere around there. And once that happens, the tech is dead all over. First-party cookies, which are still alive, still around. You can still drop a cookie. You can, remember someone's login. You can see what activity they had on your website or in your app on previous visits and tie those together. Yes, you can, but it is not anywhere close to what it was 5 or 6 years ago. The ability to drop, track, and measure cookies cross-browser, cross-device, and cross-session are all declining. And this is because many more consumers are embracing multiple devices. Many more consumers are embracing tech that blocks cookie tracking, including ad blockers. And when this happens, right, when you lose 20, 30% of your ability to, build a sophisticated sort of or accurate model of visitor traffic representation, most of these attribution models collapse. They can't survive the loss of about more than about 30 or 40% of accurate, tracking systems. And that makes sense, right? Because the model is built on, okay, we got 600 visits or 600 sales. 100 of those sales came from this particular channel in this particular week, and they had these previous activities. But if that becomes 20 or 10, it just doesn't work out. So ad analytics blockers, those multi-device journeys, right? 20% of all browsers in the world blocking Google Analytics tracking, way higher in tech-savvy sectors. Most of you listening to this probably have some form of blocking system. And ad blockers aren't just blocking ads, they also block tracking techniques like we've talked about. I am essentially saying, I think you can forget about tracking an individual pre to post login, which means the sophistication level that you could have in the past around saying, oh, this content was consumed by people who eventually became these customers, is mostly gone. You can only really do that realistically post login, meaning you have to capture someone's, whatever, email and password. You have to get them to log into your system before you can do it, which means you really don't know what top of funnel looks like. You barely know what middle of funnel looks like. You only could realistically, the only part of the funnel that's attributable is the bottom of funnel. Turns out digital ads, quite good in that sector, and all the awareness, SEO, content, PR, email, all that stuff often sits above that. If that weren't enough, we have a bunch of new privacy laws. Many of us are probably in the United States right now, and what's possible and legal here, which we often think of as like where the web is at, is not possible or legal in nearly any other jurisdiction. You go to Germany, you go to France, you go to Italy, you go to Vietnam or Singapore or Indonesia or Australia or New Zealand or South Korea or China, and the types of tracking that's still possible in the United States, not possible in these places. So this cuts off a huge additional number of your potential trackable, measurable audience. And technically, Google Analytics is sort of still legal in the EU, but realistically, it's so complex to set it up that almost no one is even able to use that technology, which means the only thing they're really measuring is what we got from old log files, right? Like we had this many visits to this page, this many requests from this many browsers. Were they real browsers? We don't know. Let's come to the culprits here, the causes of many of this pain. I bet a lot of marketers, well, those of you who watch Whiteboard Friday probably didn't forget, but a lot of marketers have probably forgotten how easy it was to attribute organic content back in the day. A ton of this was through SEO. You used to be able to see every single visitor, what they searched for in Google before they clicked on your link and came to your website. And with that data, you were able to reverse engineer, hey, these keywords are really valuable for me, these are not. This is how many people, this is where the demand is coming from, this is what from my site is ranking for which other keywords. It was a beautiful age, right? We had this data from 1997 to 2015, 14, 15, gone, right? And that ability was incredible. In 2023, Google sort of learned, especially post-pandemic, that their monopoly power was so untouchable that they could shrink the share of searches that result in a click and still make enough money, still make more money through advertising dollars. They essentially answer so many user queries right in the search results now. And of course, search generative experience, which supposedly will roll out at some point, is going to do this even more. So the reality is, yes, advertising clicks are still technically on the rise slightly, right? The compound annual growth rate is not super high anymore. Google's essentially plateauing as a business, which is why I think they're doing more extraction of value on their existing tech versus trying to, innovate and invent new things. This is a big part of why all these big tech companies are doing layoffs. Percent of clicks on organic is declining. Keyword data is hidden. Good luck tracking any visitors unless they're logged in to your site. And the percent of searchers who are satisfied by whatever Google surfaces keeps rising. So, there have been a lot of arguments that like, oh, Google's getting worse, but user satisfaction as measured by Google sort of saying, oh, this person searched for this keyword, then they didn't search anymore because they were satisfied by an answer. That's as high as it's been. Google also, on the advertising side, is doing this really sketchy stuff. I'm sure you've read about or heard about Performance Max or PMax campaigns and how manipulative and problematic those are. That is only getting worse. And the net here is that this is not just Google. This is going to be Apple, Amazon, Facebook, or Meta. All the advertising platforms are essentially switching from a more granular, you can see all the data, you sort of know, which sites or which YouTube channels or which Facebook pages or the demographics of people who saw your ads, to a world that is much less granular, to a world that cuts attribution models. You can see this in Google Analytics, right? They now only have the two that make Google ads look the best. And this willingness to literally make search results worse in order to sell more ads, which again, value extraction. This was surfaced by the Department of Justice's, the United States Department of Justice, is suing Google for abuse of monopoly power. And this was disclosed. This is an email from the head of ads to the rest of the team, including the C-suite at Google, saying, hey, people, do you want to get your short-term bonuses? If so, you need to roll back this improvement to search results because the ad clicks are dropping. And what happened? Of course, they rolled it back, right? Everybody wants to get their bonus. So, all right. So beyond search, though, this is happening in social too. I'm sure you've noticed this. If you log into your analytics, you can see that 76% of all visitors, or whatever, some huge number, come from direct or type in. How is that possible? When I look at the URLs, did somebody really type in 0-click-content-the-counterintuitive? No way. Impossible. That's not being bookmarked. What's really going on here? Well, we ran an experiment, and turns out a ton of these social networks and content networks hide all their referral data by default, and some hide a percent. Like LinkedIn was like hiding 15%, 14% of referrals. There's not. I don't think this is wise, by the way. I think that TikTok would do better if they told websites, hey, this traffic came from TikTok. But instead, if you look in your referrals, you're not going to see any TikTok at all, because TikTok intentionally hides and obfuscates the referral. This is same story with WhatsApp and Discord and Mastodon and Slack, all those B2B communities in Slack that are sending, your SaaS and software customers traffic. You're never going to be able to see it or measure it. You can't build attribution around it because it's completely missing. So, there's a blog post on our website about, dark traffic as it comes from different social networks, and the percent with attribution, the percent that are attributed to direct, that you can check out. But huge problem, right? Massive issue. And last but not least, the rise of zero-click everything. So every one of these platforms, this is not just social networks, right? I'm talking about YouTube and Google and other places like that as well. But all of these places that have links out, that the algorithm prioritizes native content, meaning Google is going to put Google's answer to your search query above everything else, the one that has the sort of rich snippet that requires no click. YouTube is going to hide by default the description underneath a video link. So when you go to a YouTube page, you see a video, very often in the description, there's going to be a link to a website, right? A third-party website, but it'll be hidden. Google or YouTube will make sure that you can only see the text before that link. Instagram, the only place you can do it is the link in bio. We all know that posts that include link in bio perform worse than those that don't. Twitter, when Elon bought it, this was happening before, but he made sure that external links are devalued even more. And when he open sourced the algorithm, he showed explicitly that if there's a link in the post, it's going to intentionally perform worse. This is same is true on Reddit, same is true on LinkedIn, same on TikTok. The only place you can put it is link in bio, and they're testing no bios. So basically, what I'm seeing is stuff like this. This is a post of mine that has a link, impressions, 444 impressions. Great. This one has no link, about 10x, right? 10x the reach, 10x the engagement, because the platforms don't want you to link out. They want to keep all the traffic on their site, right? Every platform is all about not letting people leave. And, TikTok hiding the user's link in the bio as a test, just getting even worse. Okay. So I ran through a whole bunch of things that are nightmarish for anyone who wants to do measurement in marketing. But this is my core contention, which is in 2013, it was challenging, but possible to build a sophisticated attribution model and make your digital marketing investments intelligently based on that. And in 2023, You can still measure a lot of this stuff, right? You can measure like, oh, I have this many new followers on TikTok, or I had this much engagement on this LinkedIn post, or we think that this many people searched for this Google keyword and I rank number 4 for it. Like you can measure, but you cannot build a realistic attribution model. Anyone who tells you that they've got a great attribution model beyond people who just are trying to attribute their big tech ad spend and are spending $100 million plus a year so that they've got a sizable enough cohort to measure, I don't believe them at all. I don't think it's realistic. I have never seen. I've given this presentation a few times. People have come up to me afterwards and been like, "Let me show you what we're doing," and I don't buy it. It doesn't pass muster. So let me be clear before you are like, oh my God, why are we even measuring anything? Like we can't. Measurement and attribution are two different things. So attribution is, I see this ad while I'm scrolling Reddit. I visit the website, I reach a call to action, I complete that action, and the analytics of, what's this company? Clay, right? Of clay.com tells clay.com Reddit was responsible for this purchase, right? Not just the visit, but the purchase. Or they're like, hey, we've seen this visitor 4 times in the past. We're going to give 25% of the credit to the Reddit ad. Or we've got a weighted model. We're going to give 40% of the credit to the last click. Or the weighted model starts at the beginning of the journey. So we're giving 10%, whatever the model is. Measurement is entirely different. Measurement is HBO runs an ad, right, for Last of Us on, it's now called Max, isn't it? Why'd they get rid of the brand name everyone knows for the thing that we all associate with? Do you have this association too, Colin? Whenever I think Max, I always think Skinamax from like the 90s.
Yeah.